So carrying on our little series of things to see in Burncoose Garden in the month of June, I thought we'd start with looking at Kalmia latifolia. And this is a huge clump growing in Burncoose Garden above the tennis court. And unusually, because so many of the things in the woodland gardens here come from China, this actually comes from North America. From the Rocky Mountains, where Kalmia latifolia grows in the crevices in rocks and is sort of regarded as a laurel, as a rather common laurel-like shrubby thing. But just look at the flowers that are now coming out. They're tremendously intricate and pink in bud, and when they're fully out, they go completely white. In the nursery we have lots of different forms of Kalmia with different colours, but Kalmia latifolia is pink in bud and opens white. This is a very mature clump which grows up to about 12 feet high. In a normal garden it would take probably 50, 70 years for it to achieve this sort of height. Kalmias like to be grown in absolutely full sun, in hot, dry positions, exactly as they would in the edges of the Rocky Mountains in North America. And they flower away in June and are one of the key things to come and see here in Burncoose Gardens. So we looked at the yellow flowering magnolias, which were predominant in May, and one might have thought the magnolia season was over, but there are many late flowering magnolia species which you will see. And here is Magnolia wieseneri, which is extraordinarily scented and absolutely delicious to smell, and the flowers slightly hang down and they have this wonderful set of anthers and purple stamens around them, and the flowers don't all come out at once. If you look up through the tree you can see there's some flowers are over and there are plenty of buds to come, and in 3 weeks' time there will certainly still be flowers on this lovely magnolia species, one of 3 that have fairly similar flowers. Magnolia sebaldii and Magnolia wilsoni are also out in the garden at the moment, and there are some evergreens that are magnolias that are about to start to flower very shortly as well. Several late flowering rhododendrons still strutting their stuff in the garden. Here Rhododendron yakushimanum, which has a sort of very delicate pink buds opening to pure white. Not a huge scent, but a very tight, compact growing species of rhododendron, which is always a late flowerer towards the end of the season in June. We hoped that we would find a plant in the garden to dig up for the last Chelsea flower show, but when we dug round it and were all ready to lift and take it up to Chelsea 3 weeks ago, but we didn't think it was far enough on, and we took the right decision because it's only now coming out much later in the season than we had expected. Another genus which comes into its own in June is Stewartia, and here is Stewartia pseudocamellia, flowering as well as I think I've ever seen it, probably after the last dry summer. The individual flowers have these beautifully frilly edges to the petals. They don't open out fully, but the tree is dotted high and low with numerous flowers, and this tree has a second great feature, which is that its bark peels, and you see the peeling through the summer. It's only just starting when we look up at the bark, which is covered in ivy a bit, but you can just see some flaking and peeling starting to take place, and by the autumn that'll be as good a feature of this small tree as the flowers themselves we're looking at today. Also in June, some of the freestanding and larger growing Abutilons are beginning to strut their stuff. And here, Abutilon vitofolium album, absolutely covered in flowers, and the bees attacking them for the nectar. And just next to it, a similar sort of tall growing Abutilon, but short-lived, Abutilon suntense. Rather mauve when the flowers first come out and then fading. What a show these two Abutilons make at this time of the year. And I can't resist finishing with a little look at my favourite Deutzia. This is Deutzia Strawberry Fields, which has white centres to these lovely pink flowers in long racemes. Of all the Deutzias, I think this is perhaps the most spectacular and the best value for money. Some are more scented, some have double flowers. All Deutzias make a great impact in June, but Strawberry Fields, what a good name for a very impressive Deutzia. We gave it a hard cutback last year, and it's already reshooting nicely. And these new vibrant shoots will be where the flowers come in their long racemes next year. So we've rejuvenated this plant. The best of the flowers is on the old growth, but it'll be even more spectacular next year. So a huge range of things to see in the garden at Burncoose. And don't think just because the Chelsea Flower Show's over, the gardening has ended in the woodland garden. It hasn't. There's lots to see, so please come.